So, what if you could spend the value tied up in your assets? Like gold bars sitting in a vault, but without actually selling them. I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but it's a real concept called financial teleportation. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this is even possible, and more importantly, why it could completely change how we think about wealth.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the big question. Can you really spend the value of an asset while still holding on to it? I mean, picture this, paying your mortgage with the value of your gold, but the gold itself never leaves the vault. So you still get to benefit from any future price jumps. This idea, it really challenges the very basics of what we think ownership and money are.
And this is exactly what we mean by financial teleportation. It's the ability to unlock the liquid, spendable value of your assets right now for immediate use while you keep full ownership. You get the cash you need, but you also keep the asset, hoping it'll grow in value down the road. This is way more than just a clever trick. It's a fundamental shift in how finance works. But why is this all happening right now? Look, this isn't just some new piece of tech that popped up out of nowhere. It's actually a response to a much, much bigger story. The entire global financial system is being rewired as we speak. For a really long time, the US dollar has been the backbone of pretty much all global trade. But that's changing, and it's changing fast. Countries all around the world are now actively building their own financial rails to basically bypass the dollar-centric system. And this is not a what-if scenario. It is happening right now. And here's where it gets really interesting. Take a look at the new settlement unit being tested by the BRICS nations. It's not just another currency being printed out of thin air. No, it's designed to be backed by physical assets, 40% gold and 60% a mix of their own currencies. This is a huge, obvious shift back to asset-backed money on the world stage. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the two competing visions for the future. On one side, you have the system we've known for decades, all centered on a single national currency. And on the other, a multipolar world where value is settled using a combination of currencies and tangible, neutral assets like gold. So how do you enforce the rules in this new world? Well, instead of just relying on trust and audits after the fact, new regulations like the Basel III banking standards are being built directly into the system's code. Think of it like a computer program. If a transaction tries to break a rule, it's like a syntax error. The program just won't run. Compliance becomes automatic and, frankly, unbreakable. Okay, so if we're building a brand new financial world based on provable assets and automated rules, what's the engine that's actually going to power it? Let's take a look at a system called APPRPRO. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of the whole thing. The goal isn't to create digital gold or some new fancy token. The goal is to tokenize proof. It's all about creating a permanent, unchangeable, and legally defensible record that something actually happened. The proof itself, that's the product. All right, let's translate that from corporate speak. Non-custodial is the key phrase. It means the system never actually holds your assets. It is not a bank. It's much more like an ultra-secure digital notary. It's a workflow system that makes sure all the steps of a complicated transaction are done correctly, verified, and then locked in as a permanent record. And it works using this conveyor belt process. It takes a messy, complex, real-world event, like paying off a mortgage, and breaks it down into these 5 clear, verifiable steps. It starts by capturing the initial request, it quantifies the value, it validates all the data, and only then does it move to a crucial human approval before any settlement happens. It's designed to bring order to financial chaos. Now, that 4th step, the allowance gate, is absolutely critical. This isn't just some robot making all the decisions. It is a mandatory checkpoint where a real, legally authorized person, like a trustee or a notary, has to review all the evidence and give their explicit human approval. Nothing of value happens without that human sign-off. So what's fueling this engine? What gives it the stability and the credibility to even operate? Well, it's a really powerful combination of historically trusted assets and modern, very sophisticated risk management. The entire system is grounded in what's known as sound money. We're talking about assets like gold and silver that have intrinsic value, totally separate from government-issued fiat currency. Their value isn't based on a promise, it's based on the physical thing itself. Now, this is really clever. To get around the problem of gold's fluctuating market price, the system gives assets a stable internal policy value. So, for example, one asset might be worth 9,280 units inside the system. This creates a stable foundation for transactions, so they aren't getting knocked around by the daily ups and downs of the market. It's all about creating internal stability for accounting and risk. And this right here is a total game changer for how you might get a loan. The system combines hard, verifiable collateral, like gold, with really strong institutional insurance policies. Think keyman insurance or professional liability policies from major underwriters like Lloyd's of London. This combination allows for underwriting based on the quality of the asset itself, not your personal credit history. Suddenly, having a verifiable insured asset becomes way more important than your FICO score. Okay, that was a lot of theory. Let's make this real. How would you actually use this system to, say, pay off your mortgage using gold that's just sitting in a vault somewhere?
The whole thing is broken down into these 5 phases. It kicks off with verifying who you are and setting up the proper legal framework. Then, your payoff request gets put onto that conveyor belt we talked about. It gets documented, validated, and finally approved by a real person at the allowance gate. Only after all those checks and balances are met does the money actually move.
And there it is, financial teleportation in action. The system doesn't sell your gold to get you the cash. Instead, it issues a line of credit against that gold, a gold ELOC. You get the money to pay off your mortgage, but your gold stays right there in the vault, and it's still yours. You've accessed its value without ever giving up ownership. You know, the process doesn't just end with a little payment successful message on a screen. It concludes with something much more powerful and much more permanent. The very final step is creating this, a settlement mirror receipt. The best way to think about it is like a digital trophy for your transaction. It's a permanent, unforgeable, and court-defensible piece of proof that the debt was paid in full. It's not just a receipt, it's a cryptographic fact recorded on a public ledger forever. And that leaves us with a final and pretty massive question. When trust is no longer based on a handshake, but on unbreakable code, and when proof of a transaction is permanent and undeniable, it really forces us to wonder, what part of our existing financial world can possibly remain untouched by this kind of shift? Something to think about.